Do you want to know the secrets to pricing? Get your customers to beg you for your premium offer? There are things that you could do. There's an invisible force steering your prospect's decisions. Now, not to sugarcoat it here, when your customer says it's too expensive, it's not them, it's you. Maybe they can't afford it, but when you get to the price, whether they can afford it or not, they should say, that's it, that's an incredible offer. Let's talk about ways to do it.
Maximize your influence. Kurt Mortensen is the author of Persuasion IQ, Laws of Charisma, and the best-selling book, Maximum Influence.
All right, welcome back. Kurt Mortensen here. This is podcast 591 of Maximize Your Influence, where we take the dive into those tools, those techniques to add to your toolbox. Whether you influence, negotiate, sell, lead, we all have to influence and change people's minds. It's a critical life skill that makes the biggest difference. Everything you want in life's on the other side of persuasion. Let's talk about ways to implement this. So this is known as the Decoy Effect. It's basically a bias, a cognitive bias in our brain when we get into decision-making mode, that when you introduce a less attractive option, a decoy, it shifts their preference between the two original choices where you want them to go, making one of them appear more appealing. So this decoy that's implemented is clearly inferior to the one option, because your goal as a persuader and influencer is to help them make a decision. And when we get into that decision fatigue, which we've talked about, you add the decoy, you're making it as easy as possible because you're there to solve their problem and make that decision a no-brainer. So when you introduce this decoy, it's slightly worse than the other, or it could be your competitor, and it kind of tilts the scales to one that's best for them. It allows you as the influencer to just kind of guide them slowly toward a higher value or a better choice. This boosts conversions, helps you upsell, and seal the deal. It helps customers realize that the premium products, the best ones for them, are better than knee-jerking to the cheaper budget options. So basically, we're going to leverage human psychology, put in different options, make the best offer the most compelling, and get more yeses, while still providing the best way for them to solve their problem, and they feel autonomous. Now, if you need to know, this is also known as the attraction effect, decoy pricing bias, asymmetric dominance effect. Don't know if you need to know that, but now you do. This can make a big difference in your success in what you do. I brought it up last week, and I got an email this week from Joaquin in Brazil.
Oh, boy!
He said, Kurt, thanks for last week's podcast. It was awesome. I'm having a problem with pricing. People saying it's too expensive. Buying the cheapest option. Tell me more about this decoy effect. Thanks, Joaquin, and to all the listeners. If you send me an email at maximizeyourinfluence@gmail.com and we use your email suggestion, joke, derogatory remark on the podcast, you get the free version of influenceuniversity.com. So let's dive into this. Let's do the geeky Scarly article. This comes from the journal Science of Learning and Dr. Golding talking about this decoy bias. They researched it and found that this little decoy can translate to massive economic impacts, through their words. And they go into it too. And it happens because humans have limited cognitive ability. And I'll add, we want the quickest, bestest, fastest decision. So it changes the way our brain thinks. And so we start comparing and evaluating. And by introducing this decoy, it can make the decision easier because one option looks much more superior related to that inferior decoy option that you added. So they did a study in the United Kingdom, people buying wine. So they found out when they put in this inferior wine. So the wine was inferior both in price and quality. It shifted preference toward the target wines. Well, that one's not as good and it's about the same price, so I might as well go with this one, which is the best choice for them. They found by using a decoy in what they called real-world choices, like wine, it did bias people towards the decoy. Because again, the price is about the same, and the quality is not as good, So, there's the no-brainer. And they said that the bias did grow when you added more decoys. Now, here's what we don't think about, that experience matters. Now, if they're not buying wine every day, they don't get wine, they're pretending to understand wine, that the decoy's not going to help because they're probably not going to understand quality. And is that a good deal? Is that the right price? The decoy's not going to help in that situation. So bottom line of the study, they said they did see changes in behavior, shifts in preference. The retailer saw economic gains by using this decoy effect. So bottom line, it works when you do it the right way. So that takes us to the persuasion blunder. Is not using a decoy when you're presenting options. So as a persuader and influencer, this is your best option. This is what you should be doing. That's what you lead with. But the brain needs to be autonomous. Most people don't want to be told what to do unless they accept you as the expert. And when they accept you as the expert, there's very little persuasion resistance. It's just human nature. Like this elderly lady. Doctor says, here's your medication. You take it every morning with your breakfast. She resisted. She was told what to do. She knew deep down it was probably her best interest to take this medication. So the kids tried to convince her. Other people tried to convince her, wouldn't do it. Finally, out of frustration, they took her to another doctor. This doctor says, okay, we've got this medication. You need to choose here. Do you want to take it with your breakfast or your dinner? Dinner. Done and done. Very simple. That's the key to having options. People want options. Now, again, not too many options. At a grocery store where they said, hey, here's 16 jams, try it out, a 50% off coupon. And people are like, too much for the brain. Remember, an overwhelmed and confused mind says no. They reduced the number of jams and it increased sales. One time I was working with a mutual fund advisor, watching the presentation, fine-tuning it, help him create that perfect persuasive presentation. He would meet with somebody, do a little research, have that second meeting, and here are the 50 mutual funds that fit your needs. Too much. That's why 401ks are so hard to fill out. There are too many options, so we have to be careful there. So the careful is not introducing a strategic decoy when presenting your options, or not even presenting any options at all. And when you don't present those options, it leads to indecision, defaulting to the cheapest, lowest priced item you have that they think is going to solve their problem, and it leaves money on the table. One example was a SaaS company, software as a service. They offer 2 subscription tiers, basic, $29 a month, and pro at $99 a month. When the decoy wasn't there, potential buyers would overwhelm support with questions. Well, the basic, and what about this, resulting in lower sales. When they try adding a decoy, a light version, at $79 a month. So basic and light sound about the same, and 79 is pretty close to 99, and 99 is the pro. The pro looked a lot better, looked like a better deal, because they go on to talk about that you have to clearly make the difference. Was the light that much different than the basic? You have to add the duh factor here to where, well, that's not even a good deal. This one has a lot more for a little bit more money, making the choice better because you added the decoy. See, the challenge is a lot of times when you negotiate or persuade, you assume they trust you, you're giving them the best option, they're accepting you as the expert, but that's not always true. We know we want to keep it simple, not make it too complex. Many people underestimate how humans need to make decisions, need to have options, but again, it has to be no-brainer and it can't overwhelm them. So, what they talk about is always design a decoy, make it slightly worse than your target, higher price but fewer features, is it comparable to the competitor, and test it. Remember last week we talked about testing in A/B scenarios like Amazon, and make sure it's triggering the best decision for them. Your preferred outcome, their best solution. A lot of companies do this. You have this premium product, nobody's buying it, they're going to the cheap version. I offer a more premium product that really doesn't seem as premium as it should. That's your decoy. So first step here is you look at your premium product and introduce a higher priced decoy to make the premium offer look like a bargain. And this is getting true in sales negotiation, any type of persuasion, even when you're trying to get people to make choices. And it's just the focus a lot of times to the one in the middle. And as you know, a lot of times just buy the one in the middle. especially when the value's there. Because deep down, people know you get what you pay for, even though they default knee-jerk to the cheapest one. That's because they're confused. They don't see the value in the higher-priced premium products. So it starts to shift the focus to value, persuading your prospects to upgrade by getting the one with the best value. So this premium product can be more expensive, fewer features, really doesn't offer what they need, but it's higher priced. The Economist tried this, the magazine. So they had a $59 web-only version, and they had a $125 web print combo, and that wasn't doing well, but when they add a higher price print-only version, boosted the combo subscription from 16% to 84%. Because they're like, I might as well get the web and print combo, that's the best deal, and by adding the print-only Decoy version, it made it look like a much better deal. Another thing you could do is use a decoy in bundles to upsell larger quantities. So you add a bigger bundle and it appears more valuable per unit. So your goal is to make that larger bundle appear more valuable per unit, allowing you to sell more. So in that situation, you're adding a medium-sized decoy that's overpriced, that makes the biggest bundle look the best. Again, it depends what you're selling, marketing, what you're doing, but you'll see that, for example, at movie theaters. They offer small popcorn at $5, a medium at $7, and a large at $8. Well, you're like, large is only $1 more. I'm going to go with that one. So depending on your goal, depends where you put the decoy. So if you're a negotiator, you can reframe your concession, persuading the other person to accept your target terms and not accept that alternative. You could do that by going low. A lowball decoy, do that first, and it just looks bad. It's a bad deal. Resistance, they don't want that. It would be something like if you were negotiating a job, they're going to offer you $87,000, and you come back with, how about if I just go part-time for $30,000? That's not what they want, and now you can come back with a higher offer. You went low. So can you see you can go low, you can go medium, you can go high, depending on what you're trying to trigger in their behavior. We also see that when you're doing subscriptions. Netflix, for example, started out with basic, $9.99 a month. Standard was $15.49 a month. The decoy. Premium for $19.99 a month. You're like, well, that's not that much more. And that drove the premium upgrades. There was actually a study done on that, showed by adding that type of decoy, increased the premium sales by 30%. At Starbucks, I don't remember the exact prices. Let's say the tall was $4, and they had the venti at $5. I'm like, well, okay. But when they added the one in the middle, a grande for $4.50, all right, that's 50 cents difference. I'm going to get the venti, and it did increase the venti sales by using that decoy. A lot of times, as we talked about last week, and how Amazon is so persuasive, there are a lot of cart abandonments, right? You put them in your cart, you put them there, and people just don't think about it anymore, and they just kind of die out over time. Because a lot of times we get so much in the cart that it's just too overwhelming, but when they put in decoys, they did show an increase in people going to their cart and purchasing previous things they put in there. Now, another thing you could do is a quality-based decoy. So what that does is show that your position or your product is more persuasive. That's the one they should be getting. That's what solves their biggest challenge, and that can get them to approve a higher budget. An example of that would be IKEA. I don't know if you've been to that furniture store. They're famous not only for trapping you there. They know the more time they can get you to spend in the store, it's almost like you're a rat in a maze, the more you're going to purchase. And another thing they do with the decoy is they have their high-end premium line, the ones they want you to have, their best stuff. The furniture that's better for your house and that's going to last longer, they put the junk next to it, the inferior furniture, so that you're like, well, yeah, I know, I want the good stuff. The good stuff looks a lot better. And the case studies on IKEA do show those decoys increase higher margin product selections through that perceived value. You can even use this in a persuasive argument, right? It frames your opinions. When you add a decoy, it makes your viewpoint dominant by introducing a flawed counter-argument as a decoy. For example, you see it in politics. They present this extreme way out there policy. Just, whoa, there's no way. No one's going to accept that. Then they come back around with a more moderate appeal. It makes the real idea look better. Even in food, at restaurants, putting something in there that doesn't sound that good, it's almost priced the same as the most profitable items, influence people to purchase the better meals, the more expensive meals. So at a restaurant, on the menu, they add overpriced, small portioned things on their menu that don't sound that good to push the more expensive, larger menu items. And that's true with pictures. If they do it right, they'll make the picture and what they want you to purchase much more appealing than the ones that look, it doesn't look that good. So you can even add a decoy with a picture. We've seen this with investment advisors. There's obviously a better fund. They're trying to steer you towards probably your best choice. But some people might be skeptical. Is that the best one for them? And what some financial advisors do is they put a poor performing fund that doesn't look like good. It's not getting the return to make the best one look better. It does improve people's selections, their choices, over the better options. So think about it. How can you help your customer, your prospect, make better choices, make choices easier? You add a decoy. You're helping them out because their brains get a little confused, maybe a little overwhelmed, might want to default to the cheaper version, which you know as a persuader is not the best option for them. You want to steer them to the better option, whether it be the one in the middle or one that's the premium. And now in a negotiation or other situations, you might want to have them go to the lowest offer. Now to review, options are good. The brain needs options, but not too many. Not too many options, and here's the key to options. We've talked about this. Provide 2 options. If it's pretty basic, that's a simple decision. 3 if you're using a decoy, and make sure all the options win for you. Even if they do go for the inferior one, at least it's going to help them out. And just make sure all the options win for you. Maybe they don't buy the one that's probably best for them, but at least they're on track to improve their lives and you're able to solve their problem. And during this process, they always have to feel autonomous. They're making the decision, not being forced. It's real. You're not saying, well, we have our gold version. Oh, and here's our dirt version here. All right, we don't want to be that obvious. We want them to make that decision, to feel autonomous, that they're choosing. That's the key to using options. Options work, and you can add those options by adding these decoys. That was podcast 591. Make sure you go to maximizeyourinfluence.com and take your free Persuasion IQ assessment. You can find ways to contact us and see all our advanced training services. Specials of the week are listed at lawsofpersuasion.com. Check it out. Everything from mindset to persuasive presentations to the psychology of objections to power negotiation. Or better yet, let me get you 70% off of 111 sales hacks. There's actually more in this. I started with 101, went to 111. There's more, but it's very, very simple. It teaches you how to persuade the radar, get more tools in your influence toolbox. Real simple. 3-4 minute audios. Hey, here is the hack. Here is the science. Here's how you use it. Apply it today. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. But this is all under the radar. Because the moment somebody says you're going to try to persuade them or sell them, even though they need it, want it, like it, and can afford it, they're going to resist you. This is like having your own bottle of persuasion spray. Imagine someone's like, no, I don't think so, I'm not sure. And you have this aerosol can, you went, psh, and they're like, oh, I'll take 10. I'm not saying it's always going to be that easy, but you can get more tools. This keeps it simple. This keeps it manageable. I add them all the time. Just quick, easy lessons, science, why it works, how to apply it, and then use it that day. You've probably heard some of them. Pratfall effect, halo effect, FITD, familiarity theory, subconscious triggers, cognitive dissonance, you name it, it's in there. It's going to get you the next level as an influencer. So go to your email or where you found this podcast, Click on that link and master these skills. Thanks for being here. Tell your family, friends, and enemies about the podcast. Take something you learned today, apply it, use it, put it in your toolbox. Become a better marketer, become a better influencer, become a better negotiator, and go out and persuade with power.